Okay, it's 1:30 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to MetroPlan TAC meeting for today. Move on to item B, the roll call. Rosie, if you do the roll call, please.
Sure. We have Nick Hall is absent. Jason James is present. Ann Deno.
Sure.
Here. Thanks. Rick Barrett.
Here. Good afternoon.
Nate Reisman. Nate. I see that Nate's here. Jess.
Here, thanks.
Dan Polk. And not here. Jeff Bauman. Greg Mace is out or not present. And Ed Stillings.
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon.
And staff, we have Jeff.
I'm here.
Dave.
Here.
And myself, Rosie. And Brianna is not present today, correct?
I believe that's correct.
All right, well, that completes the roll call.
And Rosie, my apologies. I forgot to say here, so I'm here too. And yeah, I saw that. Nate just put in the chat that his mic's not working right now, but yep, he is here. So excellent. Thank you, Rosie. Really appreciate that. All right, moving on to item C, public comment. At this time, any member of the public that wants to address the TAC on any subject within this jurisdiction is free to do so. So do we have anybody from the public today on the call? Going once, going twice. All right. Okay, and was there, Rosie, was there any comments or anything sent in for this TAC meeting from the public?
There were not. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Then I think we're good to go then. So moving on to item D, approval of the minutes from February the 24th, 2021 actually. Was there any comments or any revisions to the February meeting minutes?
Glasses or sunglasses?
Your reading glasses.
Mr. Chair, this is Rick Barrett. I would move to approve the meeting minutes of February 24th.
We got approval. I'm looking for a second. And I'll actually step in now. Oh, you, Ann? Oh, thank you, Ann. Awesome. You got a second from Ann. Excellent. All right. Fantastic. So all in favor of approval of the February 24th minutes as is, please say aye.
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 And any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting minutes are approved for February 24th, 2021. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Don't believe we have anything on the consent agenda today, Jeff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, excellent. In that case, we'll move on to section D of general business. Item A, surface transportation project authorization for Lone Tree Corridor. Jeff, I'll let you take this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say welcome to everybody and thank you for making the time for this meeting today. Also, Jason, yeah, I know you're covering for Nick Hall, who was unable to chair the meeting today, and you're vice chair, so thank you for that. The surface transportation project authorization for the Lone Tree Corridor, I am recommending the tax support request to include an authorization for $40.2 million in the pending surface transportation bill. And I do need to recognize the agenda says 33.5 million. The staff report says 40.2 million. The number that I'm seeking is 40.2 million. And this item relates to our strategic work plan in terms of securing funding, 2.1 million over the next 5 years. And some background, and I will say, and I want to recognize Rick Barrett, who's in this room, who I've had a couple of meetings with over the past 2 weeks, and a lot of other people at the City of Flagstaff. And much has happened, as you all know, in the past few weeks with funding. And the FAST Act is set to expire at the end of September. And I believe a draft of a bill was sent forward here just this week, actually. And we're looking at a significant amount of funding and increase potentially being approved over the FAST Act. So over the past few weeks, MetroPlan has communicated with staff at the city. Also, I've touched base with people at Coconino County and NAU and Mountain Line regarding priorities for the pursuit of federal funding. And the Lone Tree Corridor is seen as an excellent project for a few reasons I want to just run through here. An excellent project to be competitive and appropriate to pursue federal funding is what I want to point out. And I'm going to stop and look at the chat and see if anyone has anything for me. Okay, great. Stacy BK is here as well. Welcome, Stacy.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone.
And just so the rest of the room knows, Stacy is one of the city staff members who we've had a couple of really detailed discussions with over the past few weeks. And I'm just going to lay this out and then open it up for discussions and for shares from Stacy and Rick and others in the room. But first of all, running down the staff report, the project is competitive because it was approved by voters in 2018. There is measurable community support. And there's local match that came with that approval of the project. And it's large enough that federalizing it, the additional costs that come with federalizing will still result in a financial advantage for the city of Flagstaff and local taxpayers. And that's not always the case. With smaller projects, they really might not be worth federalizing. And I'll talk about the fiscal impacts later in the staff report. All of the member agencies of MetroPlan have expressed support for this project, and it also benefits the community college. Funding can be used to hire additional staff to meet the project management and grant management requirements. And significantly, the local timeline for construction is appropriate. I had a quick call with Jason James just before this meeting. And, putting in this request does not mean that there's $40.2 million coming in any set time period or necessarily soon. This is simply starting the process of authorization, and it'll take a while. And if appropriation happens in 22, which would be the soonest possible, 23 more likely, and it could certainly be later than that. But if it's in one of those 2 years, the city will have until 25 or 26 to obligate the funds to the project. And I think most of you know that obligation means the funds are committed to the project, not the construction is completed. And then fiscal year 26 is 8 years after Prop 419 was approved. So the approach to receive federal funding is to enter the process now and follow it through over years, frankly. And there's a number of steps. The first goal is to obtain, and I've got another typo here to correct, 40.2 million authorization for the project in the new surface transportation bill. Actual funding would end up coming through a grant or an appropriations bill later, but getting the appropriation is a very important first step, and it really legitimizes the project in a lot of ways. So an application is required to consider the project, and it's due April 14th. And I've listed here some bullets of things that are needed. And I've started to draft this report, and I've sent it to people at the city, and Dave Wessel's looking at it so we can answer all of these questions. And then there's a grant prospect worksheet that's attached to the staff report. And I'm going to scroll down to that in a minute. And just as a reminder, and it may be news for people who are new to the Metro Plan TAC, in terms of Metro Plan pursuing funding, we need to make sure that we, Metro Plan, are in alignment with our member agencies. And being able to spell out all of the pertinent details is really important to make sure we're not pursuing grants that agencies maybe aren't ready for. So the grant prospect worksheet is a tool that we put together over the past 6 or 8 months to document that. Just to talk about the fiscal impact here briefly, 40.2 million federal grant includes a 20% increase in costs to meet the federal requirements. So the original project was 33.5 million. And the cost to the city, let's say it's 20%, that would be 8 million, which is available in Proposition 419. So the net impact to the city of Flagstaff budget, local costs might decrease from 33.5 to 8.04, $25 million potential savings in local funding. And I put a couple of alternatives here for the group to consider and to get discussion going. One is pursuing the authorization in the amount of, and I apologize for the number, it should say 40.2, for all the reasons I just laid out. The next is to identify another project, and there certainly may be others that people want to put out there. Another option is to pursue many projects, and I'm actually saying this is not recommended. Increasing the number of projects increases the risk that we might not get funding for any of them. And there's a school of thought, which I believe, and I think a lot of other people who I've spoken with at the city do as well, that we're better off focusing on one big project and seeing it through. And then finally, don't pursue any projects. And I'm not recommending that because the possibility of bringing federal funding to the region to do more and deliver on promises made to voters and build the finest transportation system in the country is just too good to not pursue funding. So I'm going to go to the grant prospect worksheet. I'm going to scroll past the direction that was provided by the chair of the House Transportation Committee of what the information that House members need, and just go to this grant prospect worksheet. And before I do, though, I've been talking for a while and I can't see anybody's faces. So I would like to see if Stacy BK or Rick have anything they want to share or correct from what I shared. And then if we could, Mr. Chairman, maybe open it up for discussion before I go into some of the detail. Thank you.
I don't, and Rick, I really would like Rick to chime in the most, and I'll say hi to everyone. Hi. And most of you know me, I'm the grants and contracts manager with the city of Flagstaff. I've been working heavily with Rick and David, and Jeff has been putting a lot of effort into this, and I really appreciate Metro Plan support. We'll be taking this to our council March 30th to propose this project also. So with that, though, I think the write-up's great, and I'll turn it over to Rick Barrett to talk a little bit more probably on detail on the project.
Well, thank you, Stacy. Jeff, I very much appreciate your write-up. I really have nothing to add other than the city supports pursuing this authorization through the Surface Transportation Infrastructure Bill. So thank you for seizing the opportunity on the city's behalf, and wish us luck.
You.
Hey, Jeff, real quick, I did fail to mention that we are getting support from Bob Holmes, our lobbyist. He's aware of this project and has had meetings also, and this is just for the larger group that has also supported Rick and city staff and Metro Plan in this effort. So it's a good project.
And I see that Dan has his hand up. Go ahead, Dan.
Thanks. Yeah, I just had a question for Rick Barrett. And you're coordinating all of this with Metro Plan. I know we just went through the creation of the 5-year CIP. Is that currently reflect seeking this grant, or is that something if we're successful, we'd go back and revise the CIP? Have you been able to coordinate those documents?
It would be the latter, Dan. So, yeah, I think the important consideration or the important way I want to answer your question is that the bill would just authorize our project. We would seek obligation at a future date. And I might also add my understanding, and again, as Stacy pointed out, we've been working with our federal lobbyists to help us understand the nuances of what this bill means. But my understanding is that once authorized, we would then have an opportunity to obligate, and we could choose to obligate something less than the total amount authorized. And that's when we would coordinate with our 5-year program.
And if I could add to that real quick, it was a great question, Dan, too, is Rick Tatter's also been involved in this. And so the intent is to get Metro Plan's approval, take it to council March 30th, and then to the budget retreat. And that'll start having those conversations and how we put this in our 5-year plan and budget this next few years.
Great. Yeah, thanks for answering that. And yeah, I echo Rick. Thank you, Jeff Malbeck, for all your work. And I'm sure Dave Wessel's been very involved, and Stacy, and probably Rosie as well. So thanks to the whole team for getting this ready to bring to our council.
Welcome.
And Dave, I see your hands up. Go ahead, Dave.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the TAC. Just want to point out that the Lone Tree Widening Project is in the TIP. I believe the city has some money programmed for design, I believe, in the last year of the TIP. So we can say that it is in the TIP, and certainly would need to be, the TIP may need to be amended if we want to identify the full sum. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ann.
I guess I didn't mean to clap for Dave's comment, but okay, I just did. So I guess Mountain Line's perspective is, this is a great project for the community, and really good luck. I hope there's great success. And I just think this type of effort demonstrates the role that MetroPlan can play, and the great progress that I think I'm seeing from a project management level, bringing in stakeholders, interviewing, developing very clear outline on the grant, framing it really cleanly. It's really well, good job on that. So I think these worksheets are going to prove to be very helpful for all involved. So thanks.
And Stacy, I see you're also your hands up. Go ahead, Stacy.
Yeah, I just one last comment. Thanks, Ann, and everybody that's positive words. Is could Metro Plan assist us? And I don't know how you want to do this, Jeff. There's a lot of partners listed on this with NAPTA, Mountain Line, and NAU and county on letters of support, and how you want to do that. Do you want to work as Metro Plan getting those with the city's assistance?
Mr. Chairman and Stacy, yes, I think that's part of the role of Metro Plan. So we can pursue those. And as I understand the requirements that the House is asking for, the minimum by April 14th is to have a letter from the city of Flagstaff saying that they're interested and would accept, that they want the authorization to be put forward. That request can be strengthened, I think, as you're suggesting, by getting letters of support from the other member agencies.
Yes. So thank you for taking the lead and helping us on that and all of this.
Thank you.
Excellent. And Jeff, just to let you know too, I'm looking in the chat. Rick was requesting sending this information to him and to Stacy's typos corrected. And Rick, did you want to elaborate on anything else with this request?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, of course, but acting chair today. Again, we are providing a legislative update to our city council this coming Tuesday. And the accuracy of the information, especially the coordination of the information, is important. Timing is important as well. Our city clerk is asking that all this information be wrapped up this evening is our deadline for next Tuesday to our council meeting. So just want to make sure that I am repeating the information correctly. And I'm afraid if I tried to put it in a separate email, I may create a typo myself. And I would also add, Mr. Chair, that Jeff Meilbeck referred to them as typos, and that's how I'm referring to them here. They aren't typos. I mean, this is live time information. We've been talking about different strategies on how to put our best foot forward. And again, really appreciate MetroPlan's assistance in doing just that. We want to make sure we make the best ask we can to get this project in the bill. Thank you.
Thanks.
I have my hand raised real quick. Jeff, I just didn't know, you're welcome to join the council meeting. It is to present, specifically get approval for this surface transportation project, Lone Tree project approved by the council. So let me know if you are interested to represent MetroPlan and be with us on the line to answer any questions. And Rick or Dan, if you don't have any problem with it, I think it'd be good for Jeff to join the council meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to be there. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Stacy.
Great. And I failed to mention Sarah Langley, who does our federal legislative work, has been also coordinating with the team, has put a lot of work into this too, along with the rest of us. So I'll have her make sure that you're a part of that, Jeff.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, Jeff, before you continue on with the rest of this report, is there anyone else that has any comments, any questions in regards to the Lone Tree Corridor Transportation Project authorization? Okay, go ahead, Jeff. Continue, please, with the update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the TAC. Just getting into the nuts and bolts of it here. I will say in many ways, this tool that's up on the screen of the MetroPlan grant pursuit worksheet, we've worked through over the past few weeks, and people on the TAC have just confirmed that. Nevertheless, and I don't want to take too much more time of the meeting, but the idea here is to make sure we capture exactly what the project is and the impacts. So a lot of this is data that was captured in the staff report. And I want to point out that I don't have staffing implications of what the cost will be. I just made clear that, the grant can pay for staff costs, but things related to facility and operations, my sense is from the meetings we've had, and I would ask Rick Barrett or Stacy to correct me if they see it differently. We've increased the grant by 20% of what we think it would cost to do it entirely locally. And those costs will be, captured within these different sections, and that the approval that's needed is city council. And that's what I would put in this last section here of agency approval would be Flagstaff City Council. And I think that concludes my report.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. And I see in the chat too, Dave mentioned that the local estimate included costs for design, project management, construction management, and right-of-way. So thank you, Dave. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jeff. If there's no other comments or questions in regards to this item, I will move on to item B, strategic advance. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like the TAC to consider taking action on and supporting this request, actually.
Oh, did I skip that? My bad. So, sorry about that. Okay, let me, all right, go and get that on the screen. So we're just looking for a motion for recommendation to, for authorization for the, for this project and the pending surface transportation bill, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
This is Anne with Mountain Line. I move to approve the request to include the authorization for 40.2 million in the pending surface transportation bill.
Thank you, Ann. And since I'm a voting TAC member, I'm seconding that motion. All right, excellent. So I think now we can officially move on to item B, strategic advance. Go ahead, Jeff.
Did you want to
Aye.
take a vote?
Aye.
If people agree?
Oh, okay. If all in favor, say aye,
Aye.
Aye.
and all opposed. So I just got
This
too
is so
excited
fast.
from the prospect of $40 million project in the Metro Penn area. So my
Real
apologies.
So fast, this is Nate. I'm gonna have to sustain my vote, just because I've been directed that I cannot vote on stuff that is being pushed to legislation asking for money. So I'm gonna sustain my vote, but I like the sounds of the project.
Understood. Okay, moving on to item B, strategic advance. Now I think you can make that report, Jeff. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, members of the TAC, this is just a quick update on the strategic advance. As I believe you all know, we've been working at scheduling this thing, and it is scheduled just for 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, it will be concluded. And it's taken a while, and there was a delay this year because we have 5 of 7 board members at MetroPlan who are new, which I think is unprecedented. And I just wanted to remind you all that it's happening. I've had a lot of people on the TAC already accept the strategic advance invitation. And I have sent out a survey, SurveyMonkey, and already 5 TAC members have completed that survey, which I really appreciate because we're going to need that information to run the strategic advance. So it's a Zoom meeting, up to 3 hours. It'll be a first for us. Dave and Rosie and I are, working hard to be prepared so it's smooth and productive and a good use of everybody's time. And we certainly can't do it without you. So appreciate you all being there. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would see if there's any questions.
All right. Floor's open for any questions or comments.
Mr. Chair, I've
Go
comment.
ahead, Ann.
Sorry, I was looking for the button. Maybe just a comment or a suggestion about the logistics of the advance with the number of people involved. Having been involved in some of these in other areas of, is there, if you're considering, more ability of Zoom breakout rooms with mixed groups, different levels between TAC and board and or other individuals that are there. The reason I say that is just sometimes with the large group and 3 hours, it can get pretty, you can lose focus and you might get more response if you're able to break it up into chunks like that. And then also provide Zoom rooms with really good focused questions of what you're trying to get at, which I kind of gleaned from your Survey Monkey is what you're going for, but just some thoughts there on a productive 3-hour meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and I need to acknowledge, I just got a warning that my internet connection is unstable. I hope my connection stays here. And I want to respond to the comments from Ann Dono. And yes, we've thought a lot about that. We're going to have breakout rooms. We're going to have moderators of those breakout rooms providing focused questions and then coming back and reporting out. So yeah, I mean, I'll say I'm a little intimidated. I've never done a meeting like this at this level, which is a Zoom meeting. And but we're putting the time in, so we're addressing the things that you've mentioned, I think. So I think we'll be in good shape. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments in regards to the strategic events? All right, excellent. Hearing none, we'll move on to item C, Milton discussion. Mr. Dave Wessel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, members of the TAC, this is an update on the Milton Corridor Master Plan. One of our strategic objectives is to provide a recommendation, take a position on the plan to our executive board at the end of June. And really our intent at this point is to bring a recommendation of support for the plan with some conditions, if you will. And some of these conditions I'll lay out shortly for those of you involved in the process are in the works, and ADOT has the intent of resolving it. But just want to be explicit with that. Part of the reason for getting a little bit ahead of the process is when we presented this to the executive board, Dan Gabbio was gracious enough to make a presentation. There was some puzzlement. The word was incredulous that after 4 years of concerted effort, the recommendation was the no-build hybrid. And consequently, a request was made by the board to have further information. So we're working to schedule a special meeting, and we want to bring to that meeting staff's position to date. And so what we're looking for today is some input from the TAC to help us form that position. And if you'll scroll down, Jeff. Don't know that I have control. Don't know where Jeff went. Rosie, are you there? Can you scroll? Oh, okay. Well, we'll just make this as we go around, go along. So the, we see success for the project really being defined by support by all the partners, a vision that's directed by local, and supportive of local policy, and some actionable items. And what we're looking for as we move forward, let me pull up my own version of this. Maybe what I'll do, since Jeff or Rosie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I stepped away for 2 minutes to do something here.
Okay, can you? All right. As we scroll down. There we go. Excellent. So, the project has gone on for 4 years. There's been great participation by numerous partners, fair amount of consensus building around the criteria and the process. There's been public participation. and some rigorous analysis. And so there's some many positives going forward. To reach success, and if Jeff, you'll scroll down to those 6 points, I'll just walk through those and then look for some TAC input. So these are the things we feel we need. Defined a vision that addresses local and regional policy and public input. Strong recommendation for a future right-of-way limit that supports the vision and serves as a guide to private development. This is something that Tiffany Antal from the city has stated would be vitally important to provide to developers. A well-planned, continuous, and connected system for pedestrians and bicycles. I know that's a direction coming out of our last meeting, and hopefully we're going to resolve this or work towards resolution on that tomorrow. Clear distinction between phase 1 spot improvements and phase 2 final vision, and specific project to project types recommended under each. Phase 1 is becoming a little clearer. It's a little fuzzy still on how phase 2 gets implemented. And then the actionable items, implementations for not just by ADOT within the ADOT right-of-way, but by ADOT partners to pursue outside of the right-of-way. And so these can include several things. And these are things that we've discussed, but I think need to be addressed in the plan. Could you scroll a little bit, Jeff? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I'm not scrolling. I think Rosie
Nope.
might have put it up on screen, or you do.
It's magic. So the development, some of the recommendations that would be nice to see in the plan are addressing the development of public and private streets and non-motorized networks that support business, some access management guidance, and perhaps guidance on land use master planning supported by development regulations. Some of these things, particularly the last bullet or sub-bullet there, have been discussed as part of the implementation for phase 2, but really we want clear guidance for how to make this happen and what role local agencies can take. And then kind of a window of opportunity for changes that almost certainly will come. There may be changes in public opinion, public policy. We're working on the regional transportation plan update. That's on the street, by the way. You'll hear more about that later. The city's and county are going to be launching regional plan update. Development patterns can change, including market demands. There may be new ideas or technology. And then one thing that's still hanging out there is what's BNSF's position on the Milton underpass of their tracks, and then future funding opportunities. Jeff mentioned the authorization. There could be, if the $40 million comes through, there could be lots of money freed up for the city to do something. Is Milton it? I don't know, but there could be funding opportunities that make maybe changes to what we pursue available. So that's where staff stands. If we can achieve these things, we believe we can, through the process, we believe we can end the process with a recommendation for support to the executive board. And we'd like to know if there's, how the TAC feels about these things, if there's other items that they would like us to consider for inclusion in that. And this will help guide us as we work with ADOT and the rest of the partners in moving this towards a successful conclusion. So, Mr. Chair, at this point, that ends my presentation, and I'd like to see it open for discussion.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you for the report. Appreciate that. So open up the floor for comments, questions regarding this report. Don't go all at once. But yeah, anyone have any comments for anything? Go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at your bullet points, essentially, trying to filter through, Mountain Line's participation in the CMP process as a stakeholder. And then with respect to our BRT bus rapid transit project, that we were working through alternatives through the CMP process, and kind of where it sits as of now. And the BRT project actually formally today was put on a hold or a pause by our Mountain Line board, really to allow this process to play out. And I think it's outlined what Dave has outlined in the staff report, a particular of importance for Mountain Line's BRT or any potential with that type of project is really understanding that phase 1, phase 2 distinction. We are still in the CIG federal grant program. It's just, we're paused. So we've been advised by FTA that there won't be prejudice to be able to reinitiate the project in the future if that plays out. But it's going to be really important, I think, that phase 1, phase 2 aspect to the how of phase 2. I think being able to really have a good plan to implement a phase 2 is going to be really important. So I think that's kind of where Mountain Line sits right now. So all your other bullet points totally make sense about you need a vision for the corridor, developing those policies for development. I really think you've outlined it well, Dave. So does that help? A little feedback?
Thank you, Ann. Go ahead, Dave. I see your hand's also raised.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to respond. So I think, and one of the things I'm inferring from that comment relative to phase 2, that is a challenge for the BRT is you can't put in BRT a little bit at a time. And so BRT is going to be a whole cloth project. And right now, I believe the discussions for phase 2 have been more about being phased with development. As development comes in, things get done incrementally. And so I think this is maybe something we can be a little more explicit with in this last bullet point, that if that, and I know there's going to be some nuance here given the public feedback on right-of-way, but should that opportunity arise, are we to walk away from it? How do we address that potential opportunity within the CMP? Is that kind of what you're getting at there?
Yeah, I think with respect to a viable BRT project for funding, it really, yeah, you're right. It can't be piecemealed, and really, it needs to be more than just a few intersections with transit signal priority with buses and mixed traffic. So I think that's really where we ended up. That if there's future in that project, it needs to have a more robust aspect for transit to be a viable BRT, be the bigger, fuller project. So yes, that would have to fall under that phase 2 future right-of-way, what that might look like, going back to not just reasons for transit, but for other reasons, for bike and ped and other needs for right-of-way.
We'll take that under consideration to see if there's some language that we can come up with that we're comfortable with. But thank you for that input.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Any other comments or questions or anything to add? Going once, going twice. Okay, great. Unless there's any further discussion, Dave, thank you for that update from Milton. And unless there's any objection, we'll move on to item D, Transportation Improvement Plan discussion. Mr. Dave, floor is yours again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking for tax support on this. And basically, we're in the annual transportation improvement program cycle. And staff is recommending that we take a hiatus and just operate under the current tip for this year and looking for tax support to do that. And the reason we're recommending this is kind of threefold. One, since we adopted it last June, we did a major update in February of this year. So the current tip is fairly more current than usual. There's a typo in this report, it should say February 2021. Secondarily, the American Rescue Plan has put a lot of money into the state, and that money is yet to be programmed. And so going through a new tip is going to be faced with many changes here shortly anyway. So it would be majorly amended. And then third, as Jeff mentioned in his previous discussion, there could be a major infrastructure bill as soon as this fall. And so again, the tip will be subject to potentially to major changes, especially if we have earmarks and other things that we need to address. So the traditional action is to do this every year in concert with the 5-year construction program of ADOT, which is out for comment now. But the federal guidance is you need to update the tip every 2 years. And that's what we're recommending at this point. So if there's, I'll take any questions at this point, and certainly welcome any comments from Ed Stillings, our federal ex officio member here, or you, Jason, the tip meister. So.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I'll take any, before I comment or anything, I'd like to open the floor to anyone else, starting with Ed, if you have anything to say or anything to recommend for this, for what Dave is recommending to the TAC today.
Nothing from my end. I'm kind of in the dark on a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. And then from my end, I know, Dave, we've corresponded about this before, so I don't have any big issue with that. Obviously, if there's any big tip amendment once the money's come through here, so if it comes sooner than later, obviously we can deal with it at that point. But as far as relying on the recently amended fiscal 21-25 tip for a major update, I have no issue from my end. So go ahead, Ann.
I think I'm just seeking edification for my understanding of the process you're proposing. It sounds like you're proposing every 2 years, do the formal update, do all the projects and some of the other language in that overall document. But so if we approve this, can we still continue to do tip amendments, administrative amendments of the currently approved tip? So if things come up with grants, shift from illustrative to current year, those things that we've been doing to be nimble with, can continue to do that? Because I'm very supportive of this. It just reduces our administrative effort if we don't need to do it from that aspect.
Yes, Member Dunno, Chairman James, we can continue to do amendments, and the proposal is really to do this just for this year. I think we can take it back for consideration to see if we just want to do a major tip update every 2 years. And my suspicion, because of the, sorry, I'm getting an unstable internet, I'm turning off my video. Because of the increased use of the e-STIP, the electronic STIP, this is becoming a much more fluid process anyway. And so we may find that the more formal process is just that, it's a formality in order to put something out in front of the public so that, it's transparent. And so maybe a 2-year cycle is appropriate, but I think that's a good point of discussion. Thank you.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, go ahead, Ed.
I guess I had missed the end of what Dave was talking about, and I thought he was talking about some of the things that came out in the federal, the new money grant. So that's where I was saying I was in the dark on that, but because my daughter had taken me offline for a minute, but so from a federal requirement standpoint, you have to do a tip every 4 years. So that's really the only driver from the federal standpoint is every 4 years you need to have a new tip, and then a long range plan every 5 years. So so any period less than that, every 2 years or whatever would meet the requirements, and you can always do amendments. So it's not like your hands are tied. You guys don't have any conformity issues up there in Flagstaff, so it's relatively easy to do an amendment.
Thank you, Ed. And
Yes, thank you, Ed.
does
We'll
that-
make, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, we'll make that amendment, change to the staff report to say 4 years, not 2 years, but thank you.
Excellent. All right. Any other comments? Any other questions on this item? And hearing none. So Dave, are you looking for a motion today for support on this to rely on the recently amended fiscal year 21-25 tip and defer a major update to 23-27? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, sir.
All right. I put out that motion, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to place, let's see, could you go down a little bit more on the agenda, please? Right there. I make a motion to support relying on the recently amended fiscal year 21-25 tip and deferring a major project update to fiscal year 23-27.
Thank you, Nate. Looking for a second?
This is Jeff Bowman. I would second.
Thank you, Jeff. All right. All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dave. And if there's no further discussion on this item, I'll move on to item E, Regional ITS Strategy. Dave, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to share my screen. And have a short presentation. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Is everybody able to see my screen? Great, thank you.
Yes.
So this is just for information only. This is in support of being focused and pursuing funds. This ITS strategy, Intelligent Transportation System strategy, will be really the foundation for what we anticipate to be a grant application this fall for the Advanced Transportation Congestion Mitigation or Management Technology Deployment Program. Just a brief overview of what the strategy is. We intend to adopt this by the executive board with action by the TAC, hopefully in May, and board action in June. We'll look to produce this in-house. We're organizing around the grant eligible technologies. There's 9 of them. We're doing literature review, looking at the statewide ITS architecture and doing stakeholder interviews. There will be priorities, costs and benefits, and attention paid to operation and maintenance. So as we look to the providers, we want to look at the public-private and public-private partnership side. The private will be mostly, if there is any, will be in the communications sector. As far as where we are in the various tasks, we have meetings scheduled this Friday and next Tuesday, I believe, to wrap up the mission, vision, goals, and the problem statement. We've gone through the regional transportation plan, regional plan, and other things to the Mountain Line 5-year plan to look at local policy support for ITS, using, again, the NOFO primarily, but also some of the literature review, background descriptions of all the technologies. I've had a lot of great participation from many of you here and many of your colleagues on inventorying the technology and looking at the costs for those. We do want to talk about public involvement here in a couple slides. Starting on the data gathering and analysis and getting started on the performance metrics, priorities, and target setting. As far as data gathering and analysis are concerned, as I mentioned, we've got much of the inventory put together. It's primarily putting it all in a common format. We have the regional transportation model, which is going to provide a lot of information for us. The Arizona crash information systems, and a lot of good data from Mountain Line. We know where to get this data. We just have to start pulling it together. And I'm sure there's other data that we need. I mentioned a couple upcoming meetings. Many of you, again, participated in discussions on mission and vision. And we're down to, here's a teaser. We're down to a couple for each of these things, and we'll try to reach consensus through the course of those meetings. As far as upcoming events, the meetings I just referenced, there is a survey out. I'm going to give a nod to Brianna Fimbres, who's really doing a lot of good work on this project, including helping organize this. We're looking for people to self-assign through this survey to these technology groups. Advanced traffic management systems, advanced public transit systems, traveler information systems, things of that nature. Assign yourself to those through the surveys. I really encourage you to get out there and do that. And then we'll start scheduling meetings and try to get those done through mid-April and really jump into the performance metrics and analysis through the end of April. So then at the TAC meeting at the end of May, hope to be close, at a point where we can have a product for you to take action on with executive board action in June. Some of the things that would like to do is get out in front of the Transportation Commission, perhaps the Sustainability Commission, the City Community Forum, to get some public input. I mentioned operations and maintenance in many of our interviews. It's like, yeah, we can put this stuff out here, but if we can't maintain it, why bother? So really want to get a handle on some of those O&M costs, so that as we put together implementation strategies, we're cognizant and sensitive to those things. A couple things. Grant partnerships, even though this is not going to be directly part of the strategy per se, but partnerships are always key. and I said, I'll make a correction. It will be part of the strategy because we want to talk about government and implementation. And because as the system grows, there will need to be coordination between pretty much all of the partners at the table here today. And so we want to speak to that in the strategy and operationalize that in the grant. So we'll be, kind of putting it to you to start, thinking about what those partnerships look like and having those conversations so that when the grant comes due at the end of August, we can make some firm commitments. That last bullet on the page is, a fallback position. The city has their Proposition 419 funds. They've maneuvered that and want to thank them for those efforts in their current budget or upcoming budget to make that money available for match. And if we cannot put together solid partnerships that we can defend in the grant application, we'll look to go with a very city-centric application. And of course, letters of support for that will be welcome, and we'll still be forward looking towards implementation of a broader strategy with a city-centric application being a first step. So that concludes my presentation, and happy to answer any questions if you have them at this point.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Dave, for putting all the effort into this, and thanks for maneuvering a bit in the CIP. I'm pretty excited that we were able to pull together enough money to have a sizable grant application. August seems like a long ways away, but it feels like there is a lot of work to do, and I'm looking forward to getting into it on Friday with you guys.
Excellent.
So
Thank you,
just
Jeff.
thanks. Yeah.
Excellent. Go ahead, Ann.
Thanks, Dave. Dave, can I ask, I assume you're working with Estella Hollander on some of Mountain Line's TSP and, equipment and things that we're looking at right now that we're currently working on an IGA with the city for. Just wondering if, just connecting the dots.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Chair, Busy Collins is actually the point of contact for this. She's been really helpful in rounding up input from the breadth of Mountain Line staff. And I do anticipate probably working with Estella on some of the data acquisition. She and Jim Wagner both.
Great. And the other kind of related to grant strategy, I don't know if you've chatted with Kate on, the current technology grants that we're in the process of obligating. I don't know if there's potential to use some of that to match this grant or just some strategy there as well. So maybe checking with Kate on that.
Thank you, will do.
Excellent. Thank you, Ann. Any other comments? Any other questions? Okay, here none. Thank you again, Dave. Really appreciate that report. Moving on to item F, Regional Transportation Plan update. Jeff, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the TAC. This item is for discussion only. It's to keep you posted on what's happening with the Regional Transportation Plan. Something we do, we update every 5 years, as I think you all know. We formed an advisory group this year of a very diverse group of individuals to help us with it. And I want to point out and just own the fact that I got a bit behind. I underestimated the procurement requirements for us. MetroPlan is an independent organization to actually get this thing on the street. In years past, I've relied on a depth of expertise at NAPTA and at the City of Flagstaff. So I want to thank Jason James and folks at ADOT for their support. And also Rosie Ware, who really delved into this thing to make sure all the i's were dotted and t's were crossed. And I'm very pleased to say the request for proposals is open right now. It opened on Monday. I would just call this group. So actually, let me go to the time frame so you know what to expect. We've posted it. We're going to have a pre-proposal meeting this week, and then we have until the first week of May to receive responses. We're going to review them, and then we may conduct interviews with the selection committee. Probably will, but we don't have to. And we're looking to bring this back to the TAC with a recommendation for a consultant, and then in late May, and then bring it to the board for consideration in June. So if all goes well, and I certainly hope that it does, that's our time frame. What I want to remind the TAC about, and I'm going to put it up on screen here, is just the essence of the RTP. And the first scenario, we are looking at current land use and current planning. And Proposition 419 and 420 were approved. There are fiscally constrained projects that have a big impact on the area. And we also want to update things for the Milton plan and update for the increased interest in sustainability that's happened. And although Propositions 419 and 420, which bring the bulk of the money forward, there may be some room to, around the margins, I would say, to spend money on different projects or in different ways. But I have to make a very big qualification here. Whatever adjustments can be made are not up to MetroPlan. They're up to the City of Flagstaff and the City Attorney's Office. So our role as MetroPlan is to be very respectful of that process and, do what we can with our plan under scenario one to just see things forward 25 years. The next scenario is what makes this RTP, I think, more unique, is that we're going to look at a unfiscally constrained, so not fiscally constrained, enhanced sustainability scenario. There is a lot of interest in this community with the climate emergency that was declared by the City of Flagstaff Council to look at doing more, a more sustainable transportation system. So this RTP will also look at what we might do. And it'll be a little more bold and imaginative, but it won't be fiscally constrained. And we'll see where that leaves us. Once this initial work is done, it will be up to the community to determine if they want to take it much further, but we hope to give a good starting point. And again, I want to thank Rosie and Dave for all their work, Jason James, folks at ADOT for helping us get this thing on the street. And that concludes my report.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. And so any comments, any questions for the Regional Transportation Plan update? All right, hearing none. Moving on to item G, Regional Broadband and Fiber Update. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the TAC. This item, Audra Merrick was asked by the Management Committee to present fiber broadband update at tomorrow's Management Committee meeting. Audra Merrick serves on the Management Committee for ADOT. And I invited Audra to participate in this meeting today and share an update. She was unavailable, but she said she would present an update at our next TAC meeting next month. So we'll put that on the agenda at that time.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. All right. Moving on to item H, items from the Executive Director. Jeff, floor is yours again.
Thank you. A reminder to please complete the Survey Monkey survey that was sent out for the strategic advance. And I look forward to seeing you all on April 7th. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, great. Thank you. future agenda items? Any recommendations? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would just open it up to the group to see if there's anything else that anyone on the TAC wants us to put on the agenda for next time.
Jeff, this is
Okay,
Greg.
see you hand.
Quick question.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Can I forward that survey to Andrew Iacona?
Yes.
Then I will do so. Thank you.
And I also see that Jeff Bauman has his hand up. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. I just had I sent an email to Dave, just kind of an idea, and I'm not sure actually he's even had a chance to take a look at it yet. We have a fairly large project on the southwest corner of town. Some of you have probably heard about this. Northern Arizona Healthcare is looking to move their campus from the middle of the city out by Fort Tuthill. The project is really large, producing a lot of external trips. We're relying heavily on the MPO to do some transportation modeling and help us with the TIA process in general. And this project affects ADOT, the city, the county at Fort Tuthill, probably less so for NAU, and transit as well. So it affects most member agencies. And I just wonder if this wouldn't be a good forum for us to have a discussion in the future, next month or the month after, about the project in general and maybe some of the modeling that we're working on. Again, I just throw it out as an idea, and I haven't really had a chance to talk to Dave or you, Jeff, about it yet.
Yeah, I'm open to it, and I'm happy to put it on the agenda. Dave is expert on this topic. So Dave, you have any thoughts to share?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, Mr. Chair, and Jeff. I think it's an excellent topic. I mean, this is one of those large projects. It's at the intersection of a couple of minor arterials, Beulah and the future Woody Mountain arterial. It has, I think, some unique implications for circulation for the airport and for economic development. So we've got all the right people at the table here at the TAC to share their perspectives and concerns. And we do have the many model runs. We can weed those down and get the most relevant ones, I think, put together and just show some of the anticipated impacts. And I'll work with Jeff Bauman to see, just how much is fair game, if you will, to put out there in this more public setting, and make sure we get a good presentation put together. But I think it's a great topic.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for Jeff for bringing up that future agenda item and that topic. I look forward to that conversation and that report in our future TAC meeting. Anyone else with any suggested agenda items for future TAC meetings? Go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing for future items, but back to the one we were just talking about, NAH. That's our acronym for Northern Arizona Healthcare, I believe. I just want to add to what traffic engineer Jeff Bauman indicated, and just kind of add some perspective to this. I would very much appreciate the TAC's, oversight, if you will, of the traffic impact analysis that the city is tasked with. And Jeff Bauman, I'm not sure how much you want to open that door. And I respect Dave's sensitivity to exactly that. Dave, I think, is going to be looking to how much does the city want to bring to the TAC. But with Jeff Bauman's concurrence, I would like the TAC to consider things such as, what % of internal capture should the TIA identify? What % of bike ped will be there? This project is gigantic. I don't know how many people on the TAC today remember a previous project. Probably very few of you do, but there was a project in the same area, same part of town, known as Villaggio Montagna. And it, from a transportation point of view, blew up every roadway anywhere nearby. And this project's going to do the same. You know, it's going to include rethinking the brand new roundabouts at the Fort Tuthill entrance. It's going to include rethinking additional lanes on the bridges that cross I-17 going into the airport. It's going to be thinking about putting a separated crossing beneath I-17 that connects Beulah on the west of 17 over into the Ponderosa Park. No, I got that wrong. Ponderosa Trails neighborhood on the east side of I-17. Not a traffic interchange, but a separated undercrossing, we believe. Impacts to Beulah, Woody Mountain, everything that Dave Wessel mentioned. But the city, as you can imagine, is already taking serious heat from the applicant that their traffic reductions are, you know, not appropriate. And you can imagine any applicant is going to be pushing hard to show as few trips as possible. But, you know, again, I'm hoping that this TAC would be willing to help us in this case because of the regional significance of this application, just to help us all make sure that the traffic impact analysis as approved by the city is in fact a fair and accurate representation of the impacts associated with this application. With that, I would like Jeff to correct or jump in here, Jeff Bauman, that is, just to see if he concurs with what I just suggested.
Thanks, Rick. That was a lot more detail than I threw out just now, but that's all relevant and all the right stuff. I think for us to be talking about. So my understanding, Dan Folk can help us here, as I may punt a little. You know, this project is planning to make application, I believe, next week or the week after. And once it makes application, it is a public project, a public application. So I think anything could be fair game as far as the overview and the modeling and all the assumptions that go in. And we can just see how much appetite the TAC has and how much time they want to spend on this to help us with the city, through some of these big decisions, both just keeping an eye out for us and supporting us, because as you said, it's a really huge project. No, I look forward to the discussion. I just warn you, Dave and Jeff, that this could take quite a bit of time for a while, several months.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff Bauman, and I concur. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Jeff Meilbeck, for even considering this this idea. It's a little off the wall.
Thank you, Rick. And Dan, I see your hands up. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just build on what Jeff and Rick have said. You know, it's a major project of regional impact. On the land use side, you know, the county has already reached out to us, a big group from the county. They're concerned about, you know, potential impacts to Fort Tuthill, changes to the transportation network, whether it's consistent with the regional plan, et cetera. So we just thought internally, maybe on the transportation issue, we could, get this technical assistance from the group here. There's plenty of other issues that we're going to have to coordinate with all of our other partners outside of transportation. So yeah, we appreciate everyone's consideration of this. I'm not sure the region has seen a project like this in some time. I can't think of any. So yeah,
Excellent.
strap in. You know, our understanding is the hospital wants to move fast. We've had partners tell us we need to move slow. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on city staff to get this application through our process. So yeah, thanks to everybody.
Thank you for that, Dan. This is Rick. I appreciate your thoughtful words on that point. I think you've represented the partner agencies that are here well, Nick Hall isn't here on behalf of the county today, but I think you've represented the partner agencies well in your words, so thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Rick. Dave, your hand's up. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, just kind of to Rick's point, I know Jess McNeely is with us today, and just wanted him to be aware that the city has been in communication with county parks, knowing that the county is looking at updating the Fort Todd Hill master plan, and there have been conversations between county parks and the applicant on perhaps a northern entrance, or changes to, I think it's Purple Sage and Infantry Drive. And so those conversations are ongoing. And again, we have Nick Hall and Jess here, and would remind people that, depending on how this develops, it would be possible to bring other guests to present, perhaps somebody like county parks. So look forward to having that conversation with Jeff Milebeck and Jeff Bauman on the best way to package this and make use of the tax talents.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Rick, I see your hand's still up. Did you have anything else to add?
Mr. Chair, I actually do, but I will lower it as we are talking. I just, I'm just trying to fill the gaps of the discussion. I don't remember that Jeff Bauman explained in detail that the hospital as we know it today is physically moving every last employee, every last crumb, every last operational element from their current location to this location. And Jeff Bauman may be able to help. And at the new location, they will, be growing by a significant factor. The new location will also include restaurants and hotels that, support the medical services provided. There will also be medical clinics and, doctors' offices outside of the hospital per se. So, the other element that is of consideration here is what happens at the old hospital site. So I'm just trying to paint the picture of how impactful this is to Flagstaff as we know it. Thank you. I'm done, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that. Does anyone have any comments, anything to add to what was just said?
This is Greg. I just joined really late. So what are we calling this project? Is it just NAH at Fort Todd Hill or something like that? And how secret is this information? May I pass this along to my superiors?
I'll leave that for Rick or Jeff Bauman to respond.
Or possibly Dan. I'll take a stab at it. As Jeff mentioned, the applicant has been through the concept stages. They have indicated that we should expect a physical application to be submitted this week. Jeff Bauman has already indicated that this is public knowledge. We'd be glad to share whatever we got. I think right now you got a green light to share this information, or we wouldn't be bringing it up here today at the TAC. Jeff Bauman, anything to add?
I might lean on Dan. I think they actually haven't made official application yet, but they were expecting it this week. So I think it becomes public this week or next week when that application comes in, Rick. I don't think they've actually made their concept zoning or concept application to date.
Yeah, that's right. There's no official application filed. They've been meeting with various groups. They've been meeting with Jeff Bauman in anticipation of scoping a TIA. They've been meeting with Tiffany Antall, our planning director, and Alexandra to coordinate the application. But yeah, I mean, it's all public in the sense that anything that's submitted to the city, anyone can come in and look at. You know, it's no secret that they're moving. They've met with all these property owners. They've acquired land. They've met separately with the county administration. They've met with our team. So, you know, I don't know if they've met with Mountain Line, but it's not a secret by any means. One of the things we're interested in from the city's point of view is, what is their public participation plan? That's a robust part of our rezoning application. They do need to have public meetings and meet with the community and get their input and address things that they hear from the community. So that's something that we're going to be very focused on the planning side, is what their public participation plan looks like and what it includes. So I think whatever information you know about it, I think you're free to share with the community.
Thank you very
Mr.
much. I
Chairman.
just grew up in Gore, so I'm used to secrets. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. Let me go to Ann. Let's go to Ann first, and then after that, Jeff Melbeck. Go ahead, Ann.
Real quick. Thank you, Jeff Bowman and Rick and Dan, for your comments and bringing this forward. I think it's great this would be a great venue as you shape this agenda item with MetroPlan. And yes, Mountain Line does have a lot of interest is tracking this project, and because we don't have service out there, obviously, and obviously to Rick's comment, it's a huge change. So thinking about equity and climate change impacts with service, with transit, is a big important piece of this. So that's it. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Ann. Go ahead, Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, I want to say I do understand the enormity of this project and its impacts. And I'm not an attorney, but this is a public meeting and we haven't agendized this for discussion. And I just feel like with the amount we've talked about it, obviously we're not taking action on anything, but it might be good to move on at this point and put it on the agenda for formal discussion next month.
Thank you, Jeff.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, move on. Unless there's any closing comments, I saw Rick. Rick, you can have the last word on this before we move on, since I see your hand raised.
Darn it, I haven't taken it down yet.
Okay, that's the last word.
Is it down now?
Yes, down, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
That's
excellent.
my last word, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Actually, if I look forward to that conversation on a future agenda item, I think that's going to be a fantastic conversation, and that I look forward to it. All right, moving on to closing business. Item A. Jeff, do we have any items from the board to address for today?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know of any. I would just open that up back to you or any board members to see if there's anything else.
All right. Anything else on that? Just opening the floor. Hearing none. Moving on. All right. Item B, next scheduled TAC meeting is scheduled for April the 28th at 1:30 p.m. a Zoom meeting. And with that said, unless there's anything else, Jeff, Rosie, Dave, for the good of the order, I will adjourn the meeting at 2:59 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And everyone have a wonderful day and wonderful weekend.